Okay. So I want to talk all the 25 suggestions I made yesterday on Discord, and I will just quickly go over them, what's my goal with it, and all that stuff. Um, so the first one is probably very obvious. It's commune. I suggested to limit the amounts of communes you can place or whatever to one planet. So basically, if I have commune on a planet and I play the ultimate again, I will use all the income from the planet I communed first. So this would make it far weaker because what you can see is that basically commune loses value after like the second or third time you play it. It's still like decent, but then it would be like balanced. The real problem is that you find like those few planets that have like immense numbers on them, especially in like big games when there's like a Turtron or War. Like War will have like some 24 science planets somewhere, and Turtron has huge materials you can contest titles, all that stuff. So I think it's a really big problem because you can still cycle it and you can get it very quickly, and you can also save up all your special resources just so you can push out those 2-3 communes super quickly, and afterwards you can just profit from it and then go for like a commune from time to time to maybe contest a title. Um, so I think it's very important to nerf it a little bit more, and I think it's an easy fix to like just make it work on one planet. You could also limit it by time. You could say like it works for 5 turns. Mm. Then I asked for change of empower. It's the ultimate of the marshal. Um, this one. It was got probably the biggest nerf in the history of the game because deputize now only grants one ship to any fleet, and before it gave two. And this has seen so many nerfs, but I never feel like it performed that great. Like if we like personally out of all the like big players that are like somewhat known, I think I was the only player who actually played that leader. And if you go at my stats, like you can see, I played 8 games with him, which is a lot for me. I think many leaders have 8 games here, like maybe some Cal. Yeah, 13 on Conqueror, 11 on Patriot. So he's my third most played leader. And I hit a score of 84. Like, of course, yeah, we can look at the win rate. 62.5 is slightly above average for me. But if we look at the score, it's like 84 average ranking, that's below my average. Probably because I missed out on top half once, but still, I think it's clear to say that like this leader was not dominating. I was not going into games and just destroying everyone left and right. Um, so the cool thing about that leader was that it had like a very unique playstyle, where basically your whole strategy resolves about sitting your deck to basically only empower a politic and like one more edict. And every turn you would get a bunch of deputies and basically play around with them. Uh, it's very good. You can go over fleet limit and all that stuff. So quite fun. But now this is nerfed. Discard all edicts. Like what is like a good hand? A good hand has maybe like 4 edicts on it. So that's 4 deputies and it's at +4 to any fleet. And for doing that, you just sacrificed your whole end. You didn't play any other action. Like that's like the worst ultimate in the game. Even before it was like +2. Even then, it's not great. It has like a very unique playstyle that's fun, and you can do some wacky stuff with it. You can reinforce ships immediately after losing them. You can move into a battle and reinforce while battling. All that stuff. It's fun, but it's not overpowered. You can go over the ammunition limit. People might think, oh, that has to be completely overpowered, but actually it's not. Why? The reason for that is that Wait, I gotta win. I need to fix the win counter. Um, the reason for that is that you just sacrifice so much. And it's even then like, let's say you have 4 edicts on your hand, you discard every edict, and you pick the trade, like if we go into a game with him. And you pick this trade where you draw another killing edict. So then you redraw one card. So now you have like +8 ships to random fleets. But they can be in battle. That's a big advantage. But now we compare it, for example, to the Yondar Edict. +3 to every fleet that's not in combat. +4 to every fleet not in combat. Let's say I have 3 fleets not in combat. Now I just got +12. And I still have my full hand of edicts to play. For this I sacrifice everything, and even if I pick this to redraw one more edict, then I could like theoretically draw a killing edict, play that to redraw, to discard one edict, get the politic, play a new edict. Like that could be my turn. Then I have played one edict I really want to play, and I got 8 ships. And they felt like that was so overpowered that they need to nerf it to like only getting 4 ships. I think that's not required at all, and therefore it should go back to giving +2 ships. Of course, like, to put it in perspective, the really important factor, of course, is also that you can have all these, that you can do this ultimate every turn. And that, of course, makes killing ultimate that just is worse than any other killing because you cannot really play for the ultimate. Without playing for the ultimate, everything else the leader has doesn't really make too much sense. So it's just like worse than other leaders because you miss an ultimate. Just play another Killik instead at the moment, but yeah. Maybe if they buff it again to 2, this could like actually become an interesting leader to play again. Where you have like big fleets that cannot really be destroyed and you can troll around. Then I wanted, I will show the trade here. It's credit relays. This one. It comes with 2 building. It's Shinoa level 5. And in my opinion, this needs a buff because this has a very cool concept. Basically, it costs you these investment markers. And investment markers lose value every turn because you get 1 credit for every investment marker you have at the start of the turn. So if you have more turns left to go in the game, it's worth more credits still. So being able to remove these or like use them to pay in the late game is like actually very nice because now you get value out of them probably more than they're actually worth. But the problem is that first of all you cannot go private military because then spending these is like bad. Then you want to save them up to get as much army strength as possible. But then you also need to get very strong buildings because you can either pick the mega structure of Shinoa, which might be the best mega structure in the game, or we already went above it. I can, yeah, the back here. It's like 11 strength for 5 ammunition, and it has like this funny ability where plunder is gained as credit instead of materials. I think because also the command sucks, just it's so terrible. But just like getting like an 11 strength for 5 it's okay. Let's say it like this. I don't think it's very strong. I just think it's okay. I think this could get a buff. But at the moment, let's not complain about it. Just be happy with what we got. The back 11 strength, like it's a decent ship. So you have a decent ship or a very strong mega structure. And then you have these buildings that are not really like helpful at all, like +4 materials in the late game. And you already, basically this is 10 materials, get 2 trade values, 3 materials, and lose a building slot. Like, I think in late game it's just not that important to get these. Corporate data vault is actually better because you get 4 science. So now you don't lose materials for getting it, and science is actually the better one. So at the moment I feel like if you want to go for this, basically make it +8 science, no trade value, and make this one +20 ammunitions. So this would make them like very strong eco plays. Probably like one of the strong picks. Maybe you would even need to buff this back off of this change. I think the mega structure could still easily rival these stats because you also need like slots to construct it, but it's like very good to like have a weak, maybe like not the best material eco, and then late game you still want to be able to push like deep into science, have like big ammunition, but you didn't go for any tech regarding this, and then you can go for these buildings. I think that would be very nice. It might also be overtuned, maybe +6 science and +15 ammunition is like something that's more realistic, more balanced. Um, I think the developers in general make good decisions regarding the balance. I just would sometimes wish they would make those decisions sooner. So regarding this, I think the developers, like if they follow the idea of making them just science and just something like military-wise, and keeping the idea of the investments to be paid, this could be a great and actually pickable trade, but at the moment it's such a niche choice. Mm. Then of course we need to nerf pacifists. This is like such a great trade because it basically rounds up the bonus. So if you have 5 planets, this is 3 support. If you have like, okay, let's compare it maybe to Asaurian, because this is like one of the, I think, one of the easiest comparable trades. For Asaurian to create 3 support, you need 21 support in kind of planets. That's nearly impossible unless you're like Turtron, who obviously gets this trade, but it's like very hard to go like above 20 support from planets and then also have your natural income. So normally this will hit like 2 support in the late game, but maybe like 3 to 4 materials. But let's go like completely crazy and assume like the best case for this. Like then you have support income. Let's say we have 21 planetary support income, which is extremely high. Then we get +3 support from a Saurian. And then we say we have like a lot of mines also built. And we also have like 31 material income, so we get 4 materials here. So then in total we get 4 materials, 3 support, roughly like 10 credits. To get the same off of Pacifist, 10 credits, you need 9 planets. And of course now you could say like, well, 9 planets also not that easy to get, but I think 9 planets are still far more easier to get than 31 production and 21 support income just off of your planets. And then you also need to add in the factor that basically you always start out with 1-1 at a Saurian and then you go to like maybe 2-1 and like some variation, 2-2 at some point, but it goes slowly. This can start off very early. You can expand quickly and 5 planets can be grabbed like easily around like level 2. So this will already start out at least 2 support. I would assume you have 3 planets when you get it. And will very early on jump up to 5, to 3 support. So this, even if Asaurian outranks it at some point, it always is ahead. So I would nerf this to reduce the upkeep by 33%. In that case, you would need like 4 planets to get to the second support, and you would need 7 planets to get the third support. I think this would still be very pickable because just like the ability to go wide and saving support early game is just like so important, and it's allows you to do so many things. So then we have merchant guilds. This is an easy one. Um, so I want to compare to this one, because this is one production on all rich and industrial planets. So the first effect you are like, well, this is worse because only rich industrial planets, the other one goes on all planets. But now you need to remember this is one material or roughly one credit per turn. Of course, credits are a little bit more flexible, but let's forget about that. This is one credit per turn. Normally, to go through your deck, you need 5 turns. So after 5 turns, this would be 5 materials. So now, in 5 turns, I need to trade. If I have, like, let's say my split is 50-50, 50% rich, 50% industrial, which should roughly be the case. Of course, there will be games where this is very good and there will be games where this is very weak. But if we assume it's 50%, I also get 2 trade value instead of 1 material. So now I need to trade 3 times for the trade value to be more valuable. At least 2 times. The only faction that has 2 trade edicts are the Chinois, the trade people. All others would need to politic into trade, which is not the greatest choice. And after that, you still need people to trade with you. So then this one gives you a construction edict, which is like maybe one of the best edicts in the game. Merchant Guild gives you no other effect. In my opinion, this should give you a trade edict. I think the buff is not that big, and it would really allow people who go for the trade to actually become merchants and not just to have a higher trade every few turns instead of getting some of the best bonuses in the game. Which is also the next step, because one of the things that's rivaling this is parliamentary system, the best trade in the game probably. This gives you an extra edict draw each turn, and edicts are so valuable because this increases the rotation speed of your deck. So let's say we have your starting deck is 14 cards, so you need like a little bit less than 5 turns to go through it. So every 5 turns basically you get 1 research. If you have parliamentary system, you get a research every 3.5 turns. So that speeds the whole thing up by a lot. And over like 35 turns, which of course would be like a very long period, you can probably have like 3 extra research edicts. And the thing is that a lot of edicts in this game stack. Like the more you play them, the stronger they get. Even though overplaying them is also a disadvantage. But like normally, like the regular speed you get offered from the game is a little bit too slow to be good at it. You want to go slightly more. Like you want to be doing slightly more constructions, but you don't want to be constructing everything at the beginning because then you will have no more slots for buildings. And you want to go quickly on research, but if you run out of research value, then it was not worth it to go into all the research anyways, because we are considering here that you politic into research and you could have done around that sweet spot. Your construction speed goes up, it's easier to contest titles, you're just better at everything. Even if you don't have the support to play the 4th edict you draw, being able to concentrate on the edicts you want more easily is already a huge buff. And now we are not talking about those factions who actually have enough support to play all 4 edicts. And we also not talk about like stuff like Killik and Aberbrand who actually profit a lot from having more edicts. So my change here is that instead of this effect is completely removed, and instead it has like plus, I assumed like 10 votes would be something that's fair. I saw somebody comment like he thinks 10 is too high, maybe it should be 6, maybe it should be 8 again. Like I don't assume that the devs go and just copy all my suggestions, so they will think about it anyways if they look at it. And in that case, that's probably a number you can readjust. But then I think it would be very reasonable to give them an extra politic edict, because an extra politic edict actually has a relatively similar effect, but you need to decide what you want to focus on. So this extra politic edict, first of all, the support cost is slightly higher because you have like an extra action for, like, politics are very bad in general. They're just good because it allows you to get into this speed you want to have to, like, the research speeds are correct and all that stuff. But just like research, like just politic itself is like worse than the edict because you pay an extra action to do it. So actually, if you add an extra edict, then if you have parliamentary system, so in some way it allows you to be like more flexible into adjusting it to one direction. You can basically go into every direction, but it's no longer just like get better at everything. It's like decide for one thing you want to be better at, which I think is very fair. So now we go to some more extreme things. We have liberated favor. I suggested this to go up to 15 support. This might be too high, this might be even still too low, because you just don't take that many planets in this game, at least in the current meta. And Nexus cannot even have your culture, which is probably the most important planet to take. So this is on level 3, so when you're level 3 you already took like 3-4 planets. How many more planets do I want to take? Like 7? 7, like, or like go up to 7 planets in total? That would be a lot for you, like a Yondar player. That's 3 planets. Maybe I'll go to war, go for like 4 or 5 extra planets. But taking planets is expensive. Having your culture on it is a hard condition. And the only thing you get is like 5 support. In my opinion, that's far too low and makes it not really reasonable to play. So I would wish this would go up massively and actually allow you to pick this and go like, I'm not going militant, or I don't get like 15 ammunitions until I conquer and expand, of course. But like you can also get 15-0, which is basically 15 ammunitions. So you can go 15 ammunitions, or what is this, 15 support. If you compare this like in building, if you go like which building would generate like 20 support from the turn you get this, that's probably one city. So this has the value maybe of one city if you play for it. If you just play normally, this will be not even a city. And 15 zeal is easily worth more than one city because it's already something like a command center because it's 15 ammunitions. Of course, it's slightly worse because you will lose those ammunitions, but you roughly understand what I'm saying when I say a city can never compare to 15 ammunitions or 15 zeal. Now, if this is gain 15 support, and by the way, we are not even talking about militia, that are completely demolishing this comparison because that's like one of the greatest shifts of the Yondar because it allows them to go late game without having the best military tech in the world. But yeah, if you make this like very high, it's going to actually become very interesting because you also need to think about the fact that taking planets also makes the Yondar player weaker. Of course, it also generates a lot of materials for them because of the zeal mechanic, but it also reduces their ammunitions. So taking planets is not even that good. And then we have a very similar trait for Kelazan. It's an exotic hunt. I would boost it up to 25 credits instead of 12. So we have a very similar situation than Liberated Fever, where like taking planets is like just such a weird condition. You cannot guarantee that you will take a lot of planets. And playing for taking planets from other players is like a very risky condition. And instead you have like 10 army strengths. Or you have a very good building that helps you with support. Yeah, I think it's not surprising that people won't pick this. Again, because it's like level 3, you already have conquered a lot of planets. I think if you If you make this go up a lot, so you can actually be like, well, you can justify it. You can go like, well, it was like maybe I generate like 125 credits from this, and then it's actually worth more than the 10 army strings because I can easily use those 125 credits to get more than what I can get from 10 army strings. But it's also like more over time. The 10 army strings is instant. The building can create even more army strings, also creates support. I never picked this since I play Cal, and Cal is my most played faction, and also like for comparison, like I win like 76.9% of my Kalazan games. So saying that it's like, of course, like I can be wrong about this, but I think I'm not playing a terrible Kalazan and I don't pick it, so probably needs a fix. Then we have Assault Frigate. So a few patches ago, this completely dominated the meta. So the devs nerfed it by 50% from this number here, this 10% was 20% before. And I saw a lot about it, and I already saw other people also commenting on it, saying like maybe it should be 15%. I think one thing somebody commented back in the discussion was that just like having high army strength and the ability to take planets for free and make them very hard to retake is just completely broken, and it's no fun to play again. And I honestly thought that that person was not completely wrong. I think army strength is like very powerful, and we see it more and more in games. Like more and more good players go for high army strength because it's just like very solid game plan. Like make your planets hard to take, people won't attack you that easily. Make it easy to take planets, even greater, keeps up more military. And then you have a head assault frigate, like going into the middle. So instead of making assault frigate stronger and making it possible for like people like Turtle Run to completely crush with them late game. Because then Turtle Run hits like 100 plus army strength, and suddenly if this is on 15%, it's a 15 strength raider with no military tech at all behind it. That's also kind of powerful already. So we don't want to allow that. So what do? We switch around the command and the fleet and the fleet effect. So basically, this effect becomes a command. What is the advantage of this? Now you basically have a normal fleet with 5 strengths, basically a raider strength-wise, but we will see the effect makes it much better. We have a raider, we can use it like a raider, but in the super late game, if you have a lot of army strengths, we can actually have like an alternative mode on this fleet, and we can make it a very powerful like fleet if we go like army strengths. So early game we use it to defend a little bit, and then late game, boom, we have 100 army strengths. This is a 10 strength ship, and we actually invested nothing into military tech, and so we are very happy about such a powerful ship. Now the command is actually also extremely powerful. It's after combat convert one defeated enemy fleet to your empire. So basically that would become the effect of the ship. And that would make it viable in some way, because now it's a huge upgrade to a destroyer. But you still need military tech to actually keep up against capital ships. But you have a very strong effect if you win battles and all that stuff. I think this would make the vehicle very interesting, having like 2 alternative modes. Definitely a change I would love to see. And also like it changes nothing really about the game. Then we have War Council. I think currently this just loses out to all the other level 7 techs, because in a few patches ago, Voice of the Council got this plus 15% support effect. Now let's say we have 16 support. Oh, what do I need? 17, right? Yeah. Let's say I have 17 support income, which is very reasonable. Then this is +3 support. Now if we compare it to War Council, this has now a similar support effect than War Council, but of course like War Council can be very powerful if I'm at war with like 4 players. But normally you're not at war with that many players, and then you also get the building. And in general, I think buildings that come very late in the tech tree are not that strong anyways, because often you have already filled up the spots on those planets. Especially like advanced and populous are very heavily used to get support buildings in the early game because you just need the support. So then you get this building, you're like kinda, I cannot really build it anyways. Should I pick this? No, I just pick Voice of the Council because those votes will actually help me win titles. I still think it's not completely weak, so I don't want to make a huge buff, but I would make Command Center 20 ammunitions for 30 materials. So, of course, those numbers could also be like a little bit twitched around, but basically that would make it the best ammunition building in the game, which on level 7 social is fair, because if you go level 7 social, like you either go very, very wide on tech, or you don't have a good military anyways. Like to make those like high ammunition buildings very useful, you also need like powerful ships, and you miss that normally when you go level 7 on social tech. So I think this would be like a very cool tech way for like social empires that have a lot of research to switch over to like military playstyle. But of course, maybe it's also enough to make this like 24 materials for 15 ammunitions. I'm open there, but yeah, roughly around that. Let me drink a few sips so I can talk again. So the next change is also a very easy one. I think Yondar currently is considered one of the strongest factions, and I think everybody knows that Core Levis is like a very powerful edict, because like 4 ships to all your fleets, not in to all of your fleets and your systems. It's not even, they can even be in combat. Yeah, never realized that. But just creating a huge amount of ships, like 20, 24, maybe even like 28 ships for like 8 zeal is crazy, and it also allows like to go over ammunition cap. And then losing zeal actually is not that important, and it creates like this crazy Yondar build Strat is very good at using, where you have tons of ships, and even where you don't even have the ammunition cap. Basically early game, you build up zeal, you get a lot of fleets, and then in late game you use Core Levis and Holy Warriors to stay above the ammunition limit while using zeal and just conquering the whole galaxy. I'm not even sure if like a nerf to 3 actually makes it that much weaker, but at least it's a step into the right direction. I think it's one you can easily take without being scared of like making Yondar too weak. Then that's like one of the more weirder changes I want to make. Emergency vote, like actually I played some Statesmen, like 6 games. Again, for me it's not that little. And I feel like there's a big problem regarding this, because it's like a hit or miss. Like there are like a few very, very good hits for emergency vote, and then this ultimate becomes very good. Like for example, force non-aggression pact on everyone. Take Nexus, emergency vote, NAP with everyone, boom. Suddenly nobody can attack you quickly enough, and you are the big annoyance for everyone. Or like get extra SP, but the problem is if those votes are in the last council, you can probably go for them anyways, because Turtwan has a lot of votes. Like if they are like so important, Of course, here you can create like better timings, so that could be nice, but an ultimate should be like a little bit better than delay resolution by 5 turns or something like that. Or alternatively, also what you could also like do is like you could hit a resolution that was not there, because if one resolution is picked, this edict will actually show you the 2 unpicked resolution and 1 new one. So then you can gamble on that one. All in all, I think that's not too great if you don't know that you get like a certain hit, and you can of course thread around it. But what I would like it to be would be that you get 6 random choices of resolutions when you play it, and then you can pick one that overrides the current one. That way, it's still like a little bit hit or miss, because you get like random traits, random resolutions shown, but out of 6 resolutions, you should probably be able to do something good. And it keeps like the idea of the effect. And as I said before, if there's like a very good resolution in the council, you can still just vote for it. And it like basically only nerfs like the very small edge case where you want to like NAP during a game, like between councils after taking Nexus. But that's like hard to set up. So yeah, then let's also change as talked about before. I want enforced labors to be slightly stronger, because basically it's very clear how you want to play this edict. Basically what you want to make happen is you want to have a huge fight, basically using all your military, besides like 4 or 5 fleets that are located at planets around like in good tactical positions. So after losing your whole fleet, in one single turn you can build up a whole fleet again. And then you make like a second attack wave, and then you go like, well, now I won the game because I was able to reinforce my fleet that quickly. In reality, this is very sad as an edict, because first of all, a lot of battles are not won by like 1 or 2 ships, so often you either win battles decisively or you lose them decisively. And like this would then still allow like a second wave, but if like it's just not that easy to destroy your whole fleet in a single turn. Then preparing enough ships to make this actually like super strong and have them in good positions where they can actually be useful is not that easy. And then the third factor is it's very slow, because I attack, I fight, I lose my ships in that turn, I rebuild. The turn after that, I have everything rebuilt, so I can move into the enemy territory. Then I fight again, and then on the 6th turn, I can basically take a planet I maybe would not have been able to take without this ultimate. Yeah, this is too slow, just straight up too slow. So what I would make it instead is that all fleets created this turn have like the maximum number of ships in them if you have enough ammunition. So basically what I want to do is I want to remove the factor that I need to prepare ships in tactical positions to make this strategy work. Instead, I want to be able to send just all my fleets in, and the next turn just click rebuild fleets and immediately have my whole fleet back. No preparation fleets in the back. Slightly increases the power level I'm able to attack with, because I don't need backup fleets. I would also make it that you get the effect of I think it's Starhold. Yeah, of Starhold for that turn, where basically systems with a starbase can create as many fleets as you want. I don't think this would make the edict completely overpowered. I still think it wouldn't be super strong, but it would be like maybe have like more cases where it can be used. Also for reference, I actually did use this ultimate in a game where I actually did all the preparation to use it, and it actually was very underwhelming, and I should have picked buyout instead. Most likely would have probably been better. Um, oh wait, need to go to edicts. Infiltrators, that's the next one I want to talk about, because I think the whole community considers this leader to be the worst in the game. Because espionage on enemy planets is just terrible with Ixidar when you only have 3 actions per turn. Wasting like 2 actions for 16 materials, how could that be good? So instead I want to make my first intuition was make this edict strong. So what would we do? Activate, we change it completely, and we make it activating plots is free this turn. You can activate multiple plots this turn. So that's a very interesting effect now, because it actually gives them a unique ability to do multiple plots in a single turn, and it makes plots very easy to proc, and you remove that cost factor from espionage. Would actually upgrade the early game massively, and as I said before, like what I really like about this is it would make it like unique in some way. They can do something nobody else can do. So then we have interference. The ultimate. For 3 turns, your fleets cannot be detected by rivals unless they are in the same system and may move through enemy fleets. I played this leader a few times. Like, actually, this leader is one of the reasons why my Ixidar stats are so bad, right? Actually, yes. His stats are not that bad, but I've played 4 games with him in PvP. 4 PvP games, I won 1 game, hit top half 3 times, but that's heavily below my average. And the other X, I just even screwed up even more. Because I won 1 game with both of them, and then I didn't hit top half within the other 2 games. Sad story. But I used this ultimate in the past, and it's just not very good. It's very hard to utilize these 3 turns of not being detected. Because normally those planets that people are scared of you taking, they will defend them anyway. Spies do not cost pheromones to activate. The problem is, with the leader edict, we already gave this leader now a way to activate his spies for free. So how do we handle this? We actually completely change the effect. Remove the part that's not really useful, remove the part that's no longer useful, and make it from now on your plots can't be discovered. And now this leader has become very scary, because in late game, if they have a strong plots, there's no way you can stop them. If they plot you, they plot you. Counter espionage, not useful. Only way to stop their plots, make them take a long time. Which, like, a lot of plots can be stopped like that. Like this one, revert a system to neutral, required spy strength increases by the number of projects on a planet. So coup is not that, like, you have countermeasures for coup, but for example these plots, all of them could not be detected. Like the very strong plots can always be stopped by like either having a lot of project slots or having a lot of army strengths, so it would still not be completely overpowered. Then you have Graviton Bomb, and that's like the fun part. You cannot stop Graviton Bomb any longer, and they can blow up like multiple planets in a single turn. That's a lot of fun, but Graviton Bomb costs 10 spies, so it's not like a cheap thing to accomplish. And therefore I don't think it would be like too overpowered giving them this, but I would say I could be wrong on this. But honestly, if Infiltrator is the best leader in the game for a while and gets banned every game, I don't mind. He earned it after like all this time in D tier. Yes, this is even worse. Like salvage, you get 40 salvage from this. My adjustment would be make it 75. Why? Look at this edict. It's also an ultimate. 60 materials and 2 actions. How does 60 materials and 2 actions compare to 40 salvage that even requires an edict to even become 40 materials? I think 75 is like an easy step. Maybe you want to be slow and go to 60 and argue that scraps have also other uses than just materials, and therefore this is fair, but like just 40 scraps is not enough. Make it more, please. Then we have a scientific administrator. As those who have read my guide know that I consider this a terrible edict. So I want to change it and actually make it, remove the create an extra research. Because paying 1 science to research as a warp player is just bad, because there are just far better uses for your science. And use your science for construction is also not that great, because you don't have that many construction slots and you need your science. So some people may play this and it's like not completely unplayable, but I don't think it's very good, and it's an easy edict to not play. So what I would make is, I would make it just a construction that allows to create a building. Very specifically a building, so you cannot create housing with it. So you create a building and you pay 1 science for it still, but it reduces all the material cost from the building, which then would make like playstyles that focus heavily on getting like science, but you don't have a lot of materials. You could use a build like this, and then use this edict to still build very powerful buildings without having the construction to do so. Then this edict would actually be useful and would probably see more play. But this is also one of the things where I would be like, maybe some people are just better at using it than I am. Then we have Stand United. I never saw this ultimate being used properly. What I would do is I would keep the effect, but I wanted to also affect adjacent star systems. The problem here is that friendly means that you need to have a non-aggression pact with that player. That's not even an easy condition. And then you strengthen that player. Oh no, wait. I misunderstood that. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about this. Maybe this is fine, but it's very defensive. Of course, you can also play to help a friend to defend, but normally in late game there are no friends any longer. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Let's skip it. Then we have technological supremacy here. I don't like this at all. It's like a little bit too powerful because you just generate like such huge amounts of science off it. I would like to give it like a small science cost, so you don't completely skip the cost of tech any longer, but you still pay like a little price. I suggested 3 science. I think that would be a fair deal. Paying 3 science to get a tech for free. The ultimate in general speeds up your research speed, which is very strong. Just a lot of strong factors for this edict, so yeah, make it a little bit weaker. Just give it some extra cost. Then we have versatile. I don't know. I don't see this edict like played ever. I always see every UNE picks their leader edict. And so I would like it to be changed back into the original direction. And the idea I had would be to basically make it that you can, when you play versatile, you get a politic edict, or it works like a politic edict and doesn't cost like this to Senate support. Like basically it works like a politic edict, but at the end of your turn, this edict actually returns to your hand. So actually it would be like a very unique ultimate that you can play every turn, and that works like a politic every turn. I think that would be very funny. It would be exactly what the name says. It would be very versatile. Um, yeah, I will answer the question in a second. So giving one politic every time, that would be very versatile. It wouldn't be OP then like it was before in the past. That's before it was changed. It would basically be like an infinite politic edict. And wait, I'm getting called. Okay, so with the change, I suggested this would actually become versatile and not just, I don't know, maybe I need to experiment with this edict a little bit more. Like today, I put some thought into it and was like, maybe this can be cool, but the problem this current edict has is that like a lot of edicts cannot really be played that often. So normally when you go versatile, you will be stuck with like explore because no explore actions are left. That's bad. Then you're stuck with diplomacy because playing diplomacy is most likely just a waste of support. Trade could be bad. Culture could be too expensive. Research is also not that easy to play very often. So I don't really see what this gains. But might try a little bit more. So then, yeah, the way I read this, are your own fleets. Yeah, this is just like choose a star system. I always thought this would be a choose a friendly star system. But actually you can choose any star system. But then only your teammates get stronger. I don't know, that's like a very weird effect. You basically need another player to defend your planets. Not sure how that's supposed to work. Like it would require a lot of stuff. Maybe this needs like a bigger rework. I don't think my suggestion is that great regarding this, because I also slightly misunderstood how this works. But I don't have that much time left, so I will quickly go over the last remaining 5 changes and then give like a little bit time to maybe answer questions in chat. And I don't think one is Vodarians at the moment, they get Xenophile. I think that's like a huge bait because Vodarians are not supposed to be played as like a friendly faction. And there are like some ideas where you go like NIP with other people and then you travel into their territory. But in general, I just don't think Xenophile is a good pick for Vodarian, and I would like them to have Militarist and actually make them a strong military power, which they already kinda are, but could be a little bit more. And then I had a Space Deepers Net, and I would like to cut the +4 salvage every turn, make it just 3 succession, but then change the cost to 75 salvage, making it again like, as always, like what I like is like unique concepts on different leaders and not make everybody like somewhat similar. So then this would actually be like a super unique building because you would not use materials to construct it. You would use salvage, and that would bring a lot of advantages. For example, it would not get a cost increase by your ability. It would actually be 75 salvage. But like still, like to create a lot of those, you need a lot of salvage, and that's not that easy to get. Now, of course, you could go like, yeah, I can get a lot of salvage if I have like non-aggression pacts or if I play very aggressive in a war. And yeah, sure, you can do that. But I think if that's like a very big commitment, so I would even call like going to war just to create salvage to build this monument, or having like a bunch of NAPs and have a lot of like small fleets going around collecting salvage after every battle. That's not broken, that's having a good game plan and actually having something to play for, which I think trades should always somewhat be like a perspective to play for, like hypernovas are for War Explorer. In the hypernova build I've wrote, that's like a great use of what a trade should be. It should be like a key point in your strategy that you can plan around your whole game and then adjust of like the tech and situations you get. Then we have this. I would like to remove the command from this and make an additional effect that says every fleet can collect salvage. I think this would actually make this pickable because like the plus 20% salvage are nice, and it would be a very good pick for aggressive factions. And you would actually be able to play this over adaptive thinking because currently like the 25% on tech, is that a lot? No, I don't think so. I don't even think this is like too great. But if you go like very tech heavy, it's okay. The thing is like every other trait of the Rodarian is straight up so terrible that you end up picking adaptive thinking anyways. So I think the change wouldn't be too big. And actually it creates like some nice situation because you don't always have scavengers around. And this would make it a little bit easier to go for salvage. And then we have like the last two things are like dig deeper. I think this makes like no sense at all to pick because you're always rivaling against the Hulk, which is like a very, very powerful fleet. So why pick something that's this weak? 6 to every star system. But you also like, the problem is that dig deeper is at the same level than the monument. So you cannot even argue that like you pick dig deeper to collect tons of salvage. So then you can spend, then you have like so much salvage that you can build as many mega structures as you want. Because that's not how it works like, because when you pick this plus 6, you don't even have a lot of mega structures you can build. So I would like this to be like a completely different effect. In my suggestions, I wrote that, and this was like just very like a spontaneous idea I had, that I want to be able to say like salvage can also be used as support, where basically 2 salvage converts to 1 support, but this is a very like, I'm not really set on this. I'm not like super happy. Like a lot of those changes before, like Stand United is also one I'm not super happy about my suggestions, but I think it needs a change. But if you look at like some stuff like merchant guilds, versatile, like I would say like if those changes are made, I think they would be very solid. Like I'm not sure if the change regarding support cost, like making salvage also be used for support, would actually make this better. I think it would change some stuff, and since this is unpickable, there's only can only be better. Um, but I'm completely open to make it something else. Like if somebody has a great idea, I I'm happy. And then we have aggressive repurposing. This is a very similar case. It's just not really playable at the moment. Sometimes you can go for it, but it's just not really good. And also like the problem is that all three level, like if we go problem with them is and that I think is the worst. All those traits do the same thing. This generates more salvage, which can then be made into more production. Oh, what does this do? Oh, it generates more salvage around the galaxy, which can be turned into more production. And what does this do? Well, it makes stuff cost less materials, so you also basically have more production. Basically, all three traits do the same, so it's not surprising that one of them dominates the others. There will always be the best trait. Maybe at some point these two can still somewhat live side by side, because you could go like one is if you go tech heavy, the other one is if you go like war heavy, because then you create a lot of salvage. But this one just doesn't fit the whole playstyle. Maybe you can even pick it on like Spy Red and go like lots of infests and then have NAPs with everyone and travel around, and then it maybe even generates more scraps than if you go for adaptive thinking. Maybe, but it just all does the same thing and that's so boring. So I think this needs a complete change, because this is definitely the least interesting one of those of the possible things you could change, and I made it because it's called aggressive repurposing. I think it's a good chance to make it like somewhat of like an aggressive tool. So my current suggestion, but again, as before, this is completely open, and I don't think my suggestion is like super good. And there maybe are people with better ideas. I just think it needs to change. And my idea was to give it um, make the effect scavengers gain +1 strength per 50 salvage you have. So this would actually give them another tool for early aggression. They would also have a way of becoming stronger and stronger while not going for tech, which I think is always a great thing if factions can do that. And it's probably not too powerful. Before like at the beginning it will start out at +0. Then you fight a little bit, maybe get +1, +2. In the late game, if you go very heavily for salvage, you can maybe get +4, +5 from this edict. But it's like, it would still not be OP. Yeah. And those are basically my 25 suggestions to the game. I might repost them in like a week or something like that, so because there's already been some chats, so I want them to be kind of visible, hoping the devs read them and actually might take some of them. And I think in the future I might also order them, so that the first suggestion is actually the one I think is the most important. And that the ones in the back are like the ones where I go like, this could be done, but if it's not done, it's also not too bad. Yeah, so I'm around for maybe like 10 more minutes, 5 to 10 more minutes. If anyone has a question, feel free to ask in the chat. I will answer. Okay, that doesn't seem to be the case. In this case, I will end the stream now because I still have some stuff to do, but I might play a game later and maybe I will stream it. We will see at that point. The last days I have thought about the UNE, so maybe I will maybe I will play some Patriot later if we get it in the pick. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you around.